It's time once again for the Austin Rugby Podcast. On this week's episode, Alex and I sit down and talk second row signings for the AGs. We welcome to the show Sebastian de Chaves, and we sit down with the MLR Virtual champion, Mr. Will the Drill Magie. Well, everybody, welcome back to the Austin Rugby Podcast. So great to have you joining us. Once again, I am here with the kid, Alex Rees. So I call you the kid because you are substantially younger than I am.
Not a kid anymore, though.
No, you're not a kid. I'm not a kid anymore now. That's kid. Alex Rees, man, we're glad to have you back. Again, more AG stuff. A lot of stuff going on this week in rugby. For the last time when we recorded, Dallas had just kind of fallen apart at the seams, last minute. We don't know who the AGs picked up in the supplemental draft yet. We heard that we got a good signing. We just don't know who it is. But yeah, it's a lot of things going on. Players have officially reported for the AGs to camp, which is also very exciting. MLR is ready to go. I did see that college rugby was happening again, like some UT scrimmage, or not scrimmage, but training has happened for UT men's and women's team. So that's exciting. Could we be slowly making our way back to rugby? God, I hope so. But yeah, no. So this episode of the podcast, we got a lot of stuff. Alex and I, we're going to sit down here in a minute. We're going to talk about all the AG second rowers. Speaking of AG second rowers, coming up, Sebastian de Chaves. We're going to chat with him. Really excited to have him on the show. And money in the bank, money in the bag. Will Magie, Will the Drill, whatever Dan Power wants to call him. What are we going to do?
Game stud.
The video game star, MLR Virtual champion. You name it. His resume is extensive. So. But lots of stuff to talk about today. Let's jump right into it, right? We keep talking about AGs right now because there's not a lot going on, not anywhere. I mean, so we're going to keep going through. We want to get through the team and talk about all the great stuff. So far, we've had a lot of new signings, right? Like we talked about hookers last week in Hugh, and we talked about Robbie, Kutsi. I can never say that properly. Kutsia. Okay. We'll get it eventually. Maybe by next year I'll get it. But we'll work our way out of the packs, right? So hookers, second row, part of the engine room. We have 4 massive, I would say they're beasts. Like they're all huge players coming with us. Where do you want to start, Alex? You want to start with the local guy?
Yeah. In fact, Dustin, by local, I think you mean Christian Osberg.
I do. Well, unless Sebastian de Chaves is from here originally, we didn't know.
Yeah, Christian Osberg, Round Rock native, grew up here, I think he grew up here, but I know he played high school rugby here. And then I remember at a pretty young age, he left to head overseas to play in France, and he was playing in the Pro de Two. However that.
Let's do that. Let's call it the Pro de Two.
The Pro de Two.
If I can't say Robbie Kutsi, we'll just call it the Pro de Two instead of the Pro de Two.
He's a Pro de Two player by trade, but I mean, for a position, he's a prototype player. He's a huge second rower with some mobility and a lot of good size. And it's cool that he's we brought him back home after a 5-year stint overseas, and I can't imagine what kind of knowledge he's going to be able to bring back,
right?
Playing professional level since a teenager. So
yeah, I mean,
that's something
he was 20, so he played in Italy first for a little while.
That's right.
And then I think he was probably 20 years old when he was in Italy, and then got signed by Arlac. Again, I don't speak French, so again, or Afrikaans. So again, we're learning more about Dustin here. But he's 6'5", 254. I mean, he's a big dude. Like, and we'll say this literally about everybody we talk about, but really excited to see Christian. I think that the Pro to two, as we'll call it, is a tough league. Like French rugby is hard smash mouth rugby, which if you look back to kind of the style that Austin played in the first two seasons, you'll see a lot of that. And that was just the style, that the Austin elite played, was that hard smash mouth French style rugby. It'll be interesting to see how Christian kind of lines up with the other guys who have been playing, Premiership rugby, who have been playing, down in New Zealand, but also, and then guys straight out of college too. But I do think that he brings that knowledge of that French style, which could impact the team. The blending of the team is what we keep hearing about with Coach Harris. So who knows? A lot of good things with that.
Definitely. And I think also, playing over in France, I don't know that there's a country that puts more investment financially
Oh man,
into their rugby. And you watch those, even the Pro to Two games, those crowds are still
they're
packed.
massive. Yeah,
And
like they're it's
yeah,
it's thousands of fans. Like they're avid rugby
yeah,
supporters over there. Like people don't
you
often.
know they're
Yeah.
shelling out cash, so the
Uh,
quality of player in that league is very high. So it might not be the highest top 14 in France, but I mean, just the level of player across the board and the level of professionalism across the board, in a league like Pro to Two, I think it's something that's going to lend a nice advantage to Christian, kind of translating over to MLR,
yeah.
whereas you have a lot of other younger guys that are just coming up through college, that maybe haven't played at that professional level yet.
Sure. Yeah, and I think
I mean,
we what's that?
I guess American
Um,
for an American,
for an
there's
American.
few Americans that come over with
Yeah.
professional experience.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like, I do know that there is the aspiration for, he had some injuries, but there was Eagle talk, at least getting it as part of, the extended roster, kind of like Zenny and Mason are. And who knows, maybe this is going to be that catalyst. He did suffer a couple injuries that have been a setback for him. But again, last year he was supposed to join. He was literally the week that he was supposed to be announced. We talked about this on the previous episode of the podcast. The week that he was supposed to be announced was the same week that we canceled for COVID. And so that was the week after
Yeah,
Houston, and
right.
everything. Like, oh man, like, well, it could have been.
Yeah,
Again, I think
it's a bummer.
the second road lock position is something that Austin. We had Ben Mitchell for a long time, and he was kind of like a stalwart for the team, but there hasn't been really a consistency there. Like, there's always influx. We go back to probably the team 2 years ago. You had Ben and Josh Larson. Those were probably two high quality players. Again, I think Ben's almost
Yeah,
USA eligible now, so I think that that it was there, but I think these guys are actually bigger and they're stronger. Speaking of bigger and stronger, we'll go to the next one, and our guest coming up on the show, we'll talk to him here in a little bit, Sebastian de Chaves, and he is 6'8",
yeah,
265 of South African. And remember, we talked last week about how South Africans are just massive. The pack players
yeah.
for South Africans are just ridiculously large. Six eight
Big and
two,
aggressive.
6'8", 265,
Uh-huh.
big and aggressive, dude. Like, if you go look up video and images of Sebastian playing, like, he's intimidating, man. Like, he is just a
Yeah.
monster. So
Hey, like we said, he's just one of those earth movers.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, definitely moving earth and moving something. But you talk about his experience. He played in the Premiership. Like, let's not discount anything that he's done. He's 30 years old. He's got caps at Leicester Tigers, one of the top teams in all of rugby around the world, like at the club professional club
Yeah,
level. London Irish. He played out with 3 seasons, won 2 championships there, was the 2016 RFU Players Player of the Year, which means players around the league voted for him, and that, just saying he was the outstanding player. And then he played with Newcastle a little bit as well, last year, right before COVID hit. I mean, he's from South Africa. He also played in France too. So he played. I think he played with a team in Pro to Two that went to top 14, Pro 14. Excuse me. Of like right out of no top 14. Wait, is top level French? Is it top or is it is it pro?
It's top 14.
Pro
Pro 14 is
13 is
yeah,
Pro 13 is Irish
yeah.
and South
Irish
African. Yeah,
Scotland.
we'll get man, we'll
Yeah.
get it. But yeah, so he played top 14 as well. So again, tons of experience. This guy, I mean, I'm so excited to see him come onto the field. Like I think it's really, yeah, he's going to be a monster.
And I mean, and you mentioned that, yeah, he's 30 now, which is probably pretty much arguably a rugby prime.
Yeah.
But even if it does mean that you're slowing down, I think one of the cool things about this forwards that get into their older age is like the fast guys get slower, but big guys don't get smaller.
No, they still stay the same size.
He's gonna still have that. He's gonna still be a big, strong guy that's gonna be nice to have in the set piece, and it's gonna be a presence around the field. And I think you mentioned something when just you and I were talking earlier about how he came from a smaller school in South Africa.
Yeah.
And I think that in South Africa it's tough if you're not part of one of the big varsity schools that compete at Craven Week. It's kind of tough to kind of land those professional contracts, or tougher at least. And so I think maybe he's got a little bit of that drive that he made it, having come from a smaller area, smaller school. And I would like to think that he'd have a pretty good attitude, kind of driving a team like the Gilgronis and the MLR forward with that kind of that hustler mentality of you might only started playing rugby in Texas and at age 17, but like you can still make it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, we'll ask him here in a little bit when we chat with him, but it will be interesting because again, I in the article I read, it's like 300. He had 300 people in his class, and so that's for a rugby school in South Africa. That's nothing when you got like thousands and people going track. But again, he got contracted with the Golden Lions. He went through their program, and then obviously got selected for I believe U19, U20 for South Africa. I mean, he's 30 years old, so he's going up against basically everybody who's in their prime right now. You think about your South African locks right now. Holy moly! Like Etzebeth and and Stamen and stuff like. Jeez, like come on, man! Like guys who are bigger than 6'8" and 265. I don't know how you do that, but they're growing big in South Africa. So. But yeah, so excited to see Sebastian come on and play. I think it's a good opportunity to teach some of the younger guys. Speaking of the younger guys, you want to go with the next one on there? You got our Canadian. Regan. Yeah. I stumped him. Regan O'Gorman. Sorry.
Sorry, I blanked. No, that's a guy that you and I have talked about before, and we were pretty excited about. Like you did say, we're excited about all these guys, but Regan's an exciting prospect because he's only 23 or 24 years old.
Yeah, 24.
And he's already spent time playing overseas in the Heartland Championship in New Zealand, which may not be well known to a lot of people, but it's a really high level. It's just a notch below the Mitre 10.
Yeah.
And as a North American born player to get overseas in New Zealand and play at that high of a level obviously means that you're doing a lot right, and probably he's probably seen quite a bit of growth in his game over the past few years. He hasn't yet cracked the Canada side with consistency. I think he's only got a few caps, but
the fact that he has caps, like his first cap was in 2017. So if he's 24 now, and that was 3 years, he's just 20 again. Well, yeah, so it's 4 years ago. So he was 20 years old when he got his first cap. I mean, that's saying a lot. So it means the talent level is there, and I'm sure you're getting ready to say it. So I'll let you say it about who he's behind.
Right. I mean, Canada's got one of the deeper, I think, especially in tier 2, possibly the deepest second row in the world between, Tyler Ardron, who's been one of the best players in Super Rugby for a few years, and Josh Larson, captain of the Free Jacks, Mike Shepard, leader of the Toronto Arrows, and
Kyle Bailey over at NOLA too.
Kyle Bailey, Canada's got a lot of good second rowers, so I wouldn't be fooled by the fact that Regan doesn't have a lot of Canadian caps, because he'll definitely start accruing them as he gets into his mid-20s, and I think just having those other locks at the AGs that are so seasoned as professionals in huge leagues, I think is just going to be almost a perfect storm for his development.
Yeah, I do think so. I'm you kind of touched upon it. With the talent level that's ahead of him, it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough. I mean, the fact that you've got guys like Tyler Ardron and Josh Larson, like, you're part of the camp and you're going up against these guys. I mean, you're going to play against potentially 4 of them throughout the season. Playing against I forgot what's his name in Atlanta too, but I'll remember.
Jason Day. It's not. No, Matt Heaton.
Is it Matt Heaton? Connor Keys is the other one too. Matt Heaton, yeah, but Matt Heaton Canadian?
He's a flanker. I think he's flanker though.
Yeah, but yeah, it's so exactly like that's one of the things where we're kind of looking at it going, okay, I mean, the talent level is there, like you said. The Southland Conference down in New Zealand, like, it is still high level. Like, anytime you're playing rugby in New Zealand, like, you're playing, it's still going to be high level rugby. Like, again, it's not exactly the same as here in America, where it's where we don't start playing rugby. Most of us don't start playing rugby until we're in high school or college. Well, when I was, it was definitely high school. Now we're finding more youth programs, which is great. But those guys, they're playing from when they're in the womb, basically. So it's completely different. It is the national sport, so we'll take it there. But yeah, so Regan's coming. That's exciting to have that. So that gives us Christian Osberg. By the way, do we say that Regan is also 6'6" to, what is he, 245, 255, 265? Excuse me. So again, another small second rower. So in the engine room, so far you've got Christian Osberg at 6'6", 254. Sebastian de Chaves at 6'8", 265. Regan O'Gorman at 6'6", 265. It's like, so let's just go ahead and add another one. So technically the first new signing announced this year, I'd say, came right after the draft, which this signing was, everybody thought that he was going to go number 1 in the draft. I believe it was written on multiple pages, maybe even, I don't know. Did you write something on Flow Sports about him too? Or no? Okay, I didn't know. But Cam Dotson, from GCU over at Grand Canyon University over in Arizona, everybody thought that he was going to be number 1 in the draft. I thought the Jackals were going to take him. Like, people were like, the Jackal fans were excited. Kerfuffle happened. Like, eventually we'll talk to him about it. I'm kind of curious because it was a very weird situation. Like, people were questioning what happened, but it didn't. And guess what? It doesn't matter.
There had been, I think there had been like some article or press release got put out, spreading a rumor that he had the same situation as Wesley White, which I thought was total BS.
It is BS. We could have a whole podcast on that situation, by the way.
Yeah, I know. But I think so. Like, rumor had gotten out that he was going to go through the same situation as Wesley, and not be eligible to play in the U.S. and yada yada. Yeah. And those turned out to be unfounded rumors.
Yeah.
And kudos on the AGs though, for as like the fact that nobody drafted him to just immediately dive in and say,
literally, like,
agent.
Right? Like, you go, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's talk about Cam Dotson for a minute. He is fresh out of college. He is 23, so he's a little older. 6'7", 245.
and fast.
And so here's the thing. So we brought Cam Dotson into the second row discussion because he's 6'7", 245. And that's typically what you would see in the engine room. Second, everybody else we've talked about, Sebastian, Regan, Christian, all fit in that mold. But Cam Dotson played at GCU, played 8. And we don't technically have an 8 right now. Like, I know that we have some guys, some signees. Like, I think Dom can play 8 for sure if we want to go more of like the Aris Avia style of play at 8. But to have somebody like Cam Dotson at 8, I don't think he'll start at that because just want to get him experience. But the potential to have him at 8 makes that whole middle of the pack, that middle of that scrum with Kutsi, damn it, with Robbie and Hugh, and then whoever goes in the second row, and then have Cam at 8.
Right.
Oh my gosh, like the amount
Well,
of
and
power.
yeah, and I
Come
mean,
on.
and Jamie McIntosh is 6'5", almost 300 as well in the front row.
Yeah, right.
So
And then
we're not lacking for size this year.
no, we're not, and that's great because one area that we've struggled in the past couple of years is our scrummaging, and I think what Coach Harris and Gerard have done is start to establish this core group of, really strong, powerful runners, guys who are super athletic. You've got we'll talk about him maybe next week. Dominique Bailey, Dom Aquina, Mo Abdominant, like McLean Jones, stuff like that. Like these guys all have tons and tons of talent. Like they're super talented. And the back, the loose forwards is exciting, but we're building like this structure around the forwards, which is kind of funny coming from two coaches who were both wingers.
Well,
but
what I kind of sort of what I observe, and I mean, the back line is pretty stacked too. But what I kind of think is that they're almost figuring that you can coach up skills and you can coach up, awareness and reading the field.
Yeah.
And I think that our coaches trusted themselves to be able to coach our guys up on that end. You cannot coach size.
No.
And you can't really coach strength.
No.
And I think, I think last year, when I had a chance to play with the team, we didn't, until about 3 or 4 weeks into the season, we really didn't have a whole lot of size.
No.
We ran out in our first game of the year. Rikus Zort, who had been our second rower previous year, tore his ACL like the week of training. And so, JP made probably the oldest professional sports debut at age 39.
39, yeah.
40.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we called in a guy, Eric Howard.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Eric
Jacobs. Yeah.
We called him in from Chicago the day before the game.
Yeah, right.
And flew him in, and he hopped in, and it's like just thinking like we went from having like 2 locks on the team, both of whom like didn't even know they were going to be on the team the week of the first game, to this year we've got 3 seasoned professional locks and a 4th with kind of unlimited potential. And I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. So here's the question. We'll kind of wrap this segment up so we can get to the interviews. Who are you? I think I know who you're starting. I would probably start the same thing, but who do you got starting that first game of the season? Who are your 2? We won't talk about the 5th lock who hasn't been announced yet. The reported one from the New Zealand sports newspaper that reported that somebody was coming here. If you don't know, just go look it up. I'm not going to get in trouble with AG social media this week.
He used to wear all black.
He used to wear black, yeah. And there's a store named after him somewhere in Austin.
So I'll probably go. I think you got to have Sebastian de Chaves, I think, one of your starters.
Oh yeah.
He's someone that just brings lots of experience and like we said, lots of size, into the role. And then, between O'Gorman and our local guy,
Christian.
Sorry, I'm blanking on names today. But between Christian and O'Gorman, I probably at the moment, like first game, I'm probably gonna put out Christian Osberg.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen Regan and Christian both play in person, so it's tough.
Sure, it's always tough to do that.
I think you go with 2 guys that are professionals that are not going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then I think Regan could work his way into a starting position, but
sure.
like why throw him why baptism by fire when you can bring him on as a sub for the first however many weeks of the season, and if he remains an impact sub, then that's great. That means our other locks are doing really well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and again, that's who I would probably go with too. Again, it's nice to have the depth in the second row. It's nice to see the potential that's there with everybody. But yeah, Christian and Sebastian are definitely the two that I think are going to get the nod to start off with. Who knows? We don't know. We're still a ways away. Anything could happen, but it is kind of exciting to have that kind of depth.
Given the
we'll see.
given the nature of our inception as AGs, you never know when there could be a massive surprise 7 days out from the season opener.
I was just sitting there going, who could it be? Like, who could be a massive surprise that people would just like lose their mind over? So
we might change our name.
Might change our name again. I don't think that's happening. I think they're kind of stuck with that one. So, well, hey, really appreciate your input on that. I think it's going to be exciting. We're going to get here in a minute to talk to Sebastian de Chaves, learn about his story and what's been going on. Yeah, it's going to be good. So we'll take a short break and we'll come right back with Sebastian de Chaves. All right, for my first guest on this week's podcast, we're really excited. I think, as Alex and I just talked about, we've been signing a lot of second rowers. A lot of new guys, a whole new second row coming in from last season. Technically, we have 4 of them, maybe 5 of them signed. One is not been official, but we really wanted to bring on one of those second rowers to kind of talk about his career, talk about how he got to Austin. We're pretty excited about it. I'd like to welcome on Sebastian de Chaves. Sebastian, how's it going, man?
Hey, good, thank you. Thanks for having me. Really
good.
To have a good chat.
Yeah, and hopefully no technical difficulties.
Yeah, I think we got all those done in the last 5 minutes. So that's all good.
Fingers crossed. So,
yeah.
So for those who don't know who you are, you've got a pretty long career that you've been playing so far. Tell us, your story up to now. You've been all over. You played for a couple teams in South Africa. You've been up in the championship up in England. You played in the Premiership over in England. Man. Tell us about it. Let's start at the beginning.
Yeah. So it's been a bit of a journey. Obviously, born and raised in South Africa. Played all my junior rugby through the lines, under 19s, under 21s. Was fortunate enough to play for the Springbok under 20s, and then from there had a bit of an off year in terms of injuries and so on, and kind of played a bit of university rugby at the University of Johannesburg, which was a great experience. And then with my mom being from the UK, I wanted to see what's out there in terms of rugby, and was so close to actually signing for Cornish Pirates. Then this French team got hold of my agent and said, look, we're interested. We want him. We've just been promoted to top 14. So would he be interested? And to be honest, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But when you're young, you don't really think about that stuff. And I just jumped at the opportunity. Went to France for a year. Played in the top 14, which was also a completely different culture in terms of rugby, but also off the field. So that was really, really big, steep learning curve.
Yeah.
And then from there, Leicester Tigers got in touch, and an opportunity to sign for one of the biggest clubs in Europe at the time.
Yeah.
Once again, just jumped to that opportunity, and I spent 3 years at Leicester, and that was really kind of where I kind of learned a lot about being a professional rugby player. The ins and outs of being a true professional, and on and off the field. At Leicester, you almost spoiled because majority of the time you're going to play in front of 27,000 people. So amazing stadium, really rugby mad city. So that was also another amazing experience and helped me loads to develop as a player. then yeah, I wanted to, after my 3 years there, I loved every minute, but wanted a new challenge, so moved down to London. Played for London Irish for 3.5 years, and yeah, we won the championship twice. We were in the Premiership. We had a great group of boys, and just loved my time there as well. It was really a good culture. And then last season was with Newcastle Falcons.
Yeah,
went up to the north.
Yeah, another changing culture, right?
yeah, exactly. But just on the borders of Scotland. So yeah, it was also another very interesting situation, but one I thoroughly enjoyed and loved all the coaches and the players out there. Once again, some really good boys. I've been lucky throughout my whole career to play with some amazing teammates in terms of talent, but also really good human beings off the pitch. So I count myself awesome. Very lucky with that. Yeah. And then here we are speaking to you. Here I'm speaking to you. So it's been a bit of a journey.
Yeah, it's not quite the same weather as Newcastle here in Austin. I mean, it's similar, right?
Same funny accent. But
same funny accents. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't bring Texas draw accents. I just don't have it. So
no, you're all good.
So I want to talk a bit about I think you talked about you from South Africa. You grew up. I think I read somewhere that sport wasn't as big, rugby and sport in general wasn't as big at the school you went to as it is in some of the other, schools in South Africa. Something like 300 and something total students in there. And, you go on to play, professional rugby, in Europe. Has that changed at all since you were in school? And did I read that correctly in the article that said that?
Yeah, no, you're pretty spot on there. With South African rugby, well, I mean, I've been out of the country for a while. 30 years old, so I'm not going back to school anytime soon. But from when I was there,
never say never, right?
Yeah, never. You're absolutely right. Never say never. But from my perspective, when I was in South Africa and at school, what school you went to was pretty big. It's just I think it was in terms of some of the best school coaches, some of the best setups, some of the best players. At under, it started ranging from under 13, under 14 when they started, recruiting. And when you get to 16, 17, 18 years old and you've been coached by very good coaches and you've played with very good players, and you're in a massive school of 500 to 1,000 boys. That plays a massive part in terms of playing representation rugby. So in terms of Lions, Bulls, Western Province Sharks, all that kind of stuff. I went a little bit of a different path. I went to a very small school. Sport was obviously offered, and we enjoyed ourselves and stuff, but it wasn't very much a massive sporting school. We weren't known for our sport, but lucky enough, I used to go to a club rugby team just up the road from where I used to live, and through there met some good coaches and some good guys that had some contacts at bigger schools, and got me into a few trials here and there, and just kind of got the opportunity to play in front of the right people at the time. So that was really good. But for a while, it was, for me, rugby was enjoy. I loved all my sports. Grew up with an older brother and older sister, also very sporty. So we just played everything all year round. But I did love rugby. But at the time, just the way the school system was, I saw it as, enjoy my time in school rugby, enjoy playing with my mates, and then, go to university and kind of move on to the next chapter in my life. And I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to the University, a rugby scholarship. But still, even then, it was okay, this is to help me pay for my studies. This is not me still wanting to become. I obviously wanted to, but I didn't see it as possible at the time. So I didn't really think of being a professional. And then, once again, just went to a couple of training sessions, got spotted by the right person, and got put in under 19 Lions, and then from there just started playing well. And And then at the end of that season, we were quite lucky. We had quite a really talented young bunch of boys, and we made the under-19 final. We lost that final, but for us, we didn't really have many, superstars. We were just a good talented group,
good cohesive unit.
So even to make the final was a massive achievement for us. And then off the back of that was selected to go to the first few rounds of trials for S20. And then once I made S20 and went to the World Cup, then it sort of dawned on me, this is something I love. This is something I really enjoy doing. Let's explore all avenues and try and make it happen. So yeah, it was, if you spoke to a lot of, I'm sure if you spoke to a lot of South African boys, their path of professional rugby was a lot more streamlined, and maybe from a younger age they kind of knew they were going to fall into the professional ranks. But for me, it was a bit later.
Nice. Interesting. What was the, you said you went, obviously going to play, over in France is completely different, and then going and playing in England is different. What was the jump like that? How, both physically, because, we talk a lot about how French rugby, top Pro 14, like it's physical, it's very physical, and a lad of your size, who, for those of you who don't know, we'll put it in the English terms as the 6'8", 200 and what's the latest weigh-in? So your CV says 265. Have you slimmed down a little bit in some training, or?
Yeah. So yeah.
Are you packing on muscle weight right now? What's going on?
I'd say they've also been a little bit ambitious with my height as well. I'm about 6'7".
Okay. That's not going to make a big difference for you.
I would say, I'm at my, fighting weight. I'd say I'm around about 118, 119 kilos.
We'll do the math later and put it up on the screen.
Yeah. Don't ask me to convert for you.
Yeah, I know. We're still working on it. So I mean, obviously, the French league has been known, Pro D2 has been known to be extremely physical, a very tough league, very physically demanding. Did you see similarities from the style that you play that drew you to go play there, or was it just kind of the opportunity that was presented to you?
Yeah, it was very much the opportunity. If I'm deadly honest, I didn't know. In South Africa, it's very, when you're a youngster and when you're trying to, get into teams and make teams, it's very much focused on the Currie Cup and Super Rugby. That's the ultimate goal for every schoolboy, is to play Currie Cup, then play Super Rugby, and then play for the Box. That's the dream. So when this top 14 opportunity came along, I was very, very naive. I actually spoke to my mom about it the other day, and we were talking. If I knew what I knew now, I don't know. I don't even know if I'd take that opportunity again, because
really?
it was such a change. No, I definitely would, but there was obviously, those first time moving away from home, first time being out of the country, 20, 21, 22 years old, still trying to figure out
life,
rugby and life. Yeah. And then you arrive, language barrier, culture change, and all that kind of stuff. It was one of those. I think it was quite a rough 2 or 3 months first getting there, and then it was one of those which I've heard a lot from other foreign players, is that the 2 or 3 first months are your toughest. But then I didn't actually want to leave at the end.
Oh, wow.
I loved it, and I loved the little town, and I loved playing those games. But it just, when Leicester Tigers came knocking, it was another just opportunity for me to develop. But to put it in perspective, I think we had a friendly against, my first friendly was against Toulon, and they were the powerhouse at the time that they were, and I just remember as clear as day, just lining up in that tunnel just before running out, and literally thinking, I'm ready for this, like, we'll be all good and everything like that. And Carl Heyman walks past, Bucky's Buddha, Nick Kennedy, all these players, Johnny Wilkinson, Matt Giddo.
Big names, a few big names.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just sat there, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking, I was playing university rugby 2 months earlier, and now I'm going against these absolute titans and absolute legends of the game. So that was definitely a moment where I was like, here we go. no turning back now. So
Yeah, no, definitely. But then yeah, so you go to Leicester, you play. I mean, you played 3 seasons at Leicester, and if you take Leicester and you take London Irish together, you've got 56 caps in the Premiership. Like it's no small feat. It's the Premiership again, the top level rugby. Playing over there and playing high quality ball. And then you tie in the time just in England in general with London Irish in the Championship, like 2 titles back up and down from the relegation. Was it 2015 was relegated? I forget what. Oh man, I'm bad on my dates again. Just like because you went up, you won the you won the RFU Championship with London Irish, and you went up to Premiership, and then got relegated. Then you won the Championship again and went back up again. What was that kind of? With London Irish, there's obviously there's a lot that have gone on in the past couple of years with them and the massive improvements, and we'll talk about one of your former teammates here in a second. But what was that like to kind of go from Leicester and what was going on there to what they were building with London Irish?
Yeah, it was. I think for me, the first year that I was there, they had new coaching staff. They had a lot of new players as well, so it was very much very much almost the situation we have here. So it was nice and fresh, and there was loads of energy in the place, and people just wanted to learn and do their best every single day, which was really good to see. The problem I think in English rugby is there's the gap between the Premiership and the Championship is quite big. Yeah. The Championship brings different challenges. Definitely, it's definitely not a walk in the park, but it brings different challenges to the Premiership. And I think that was maybe where we maybe got it wrong a little bit. I think we did really well in the Championship. We had an amazing season, and I think maybe we I don't know whether it was we overestimated what we were capable of or underestimated what the league is. The Premiership is just one big churning machine. It's
something.
It's a massive challenge, and it's relentless. It doesn't stop. There's no easy games. No, at the moment there's hardly any off weeks and stuff, and it's just a pounding week in and week out. And I think we possibly maybe underestimated that.
Yeah.
But also, once again, massive for me personally, it was a really big learning curve, and always learned loads. And I was lucky enough to play with some great players that I learned off as well. So, and then back to the Championship, and then once again poses different types of challenges. But we also did really well there. So. Yeah, but a bit up and down, but all 3 seasons, I can honestly say that each league, each squad of players, I learned something off, and I really enjoyed it. It was just all different, I suppose, and each season was very different in a different way.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. Obviously, then you went up to Newcastle, and now here, man. So, where in your mindset did you ever think that U.S. rugby, going to play professional rugby in the United States was going to be an option?
Yeah, well, it's kind of I feel about 4 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you heard someone you might have known is playing in the States. You would have maybe been like, in the States,
why would they do that?
In the States? But more and more every year, and I'd say especially in the last 2 years.
Oh yeah,
you're seeing some good names. You're seeing some really good teams getting put out, and you see the excitement that American sports just naturally brings. So it was building more and more, and it was always something I always thought, man, that would be something completely different to like I suppose you can almost say the top 14 and the Premiership is a very purist rugby tournament. It's one for the diehard fans that they love week in and week out. They've got their teams and everything, where like the MLR, in terms of someone who's not from America, I feel like it just brings a whole different dimension to it. From a support style, from a playing style, from just an entertainment style. And I think that was something that interested me straight away. And I've always had a little bit of an interest and a little bit of an eye on the MLR. And then when this opportunity came, it was something really exciting and something that I was definitely keen to explore and see what it's all about.
So when this opportunity presented itself to you, did this come through one of your former teammates and Mr. Bryce Campbell, or was this something that did he say, "Hey, you should really go talk to Austin. I'm gonna go play down there. My buddy Will Magie's gonna play down there." How did guys that you've played against and with, what was that an influence for you?
Yeah, the thing about the rugby world is it's so tiny.
It's not that big.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knows everybody.
it's ridiculous. And I actually, when I first got here and was able to see Bryce and everything like that, we just laughed. We just said, what are the chances that me and him are here? Because he actually lived in the same little town in London. We lived in Kingston together, so he was down the road from me. And when he first arrived, he didn't have a car, so we'd do lifts and we'd socialized quite a lot together. And I just remember, wow, it must have been about 6 months ago. I was at another mate's house, and we were just like on a FaceTime call to Bryce, and Bryce was like, yeah, I'm looking to sign to Austin Gilgronis. It's something new. It's exciting. They got new coaches. Austin's a cool city and everything like that. And I was like, man, that sounds so cool. Like, I'm sure you're going to smash it, everything like that. And that was kind of it. And then a couple of months later, it was kind of like that conversation of Bryce was kind of asking me like, oh, what's your situation? Are you signed anywhere? What are you doing? And I was kind of just, because of COVID and everything like that, all the teams were keeping their cards very close to their chest, and I was just kind of training by myself and just trying to stay positive and see what was happening. And then basically they got in touch, and I've got a sneaky suspicion.
I said, well,
when Campbell's got something to do with that.
When we interview Bryce here in a couple of weeks, we'll definitely press him on, whether or not he gets any commission off of signing you or anything like that, a sales agent.
I'd love to know. Yeah, I'd love to know the numbers going around.
Yeah, exactly. He definitely owes you at least a beer or two, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about the upcoming season, right? There's lots of excitement. Like I said, we've officially signed 4 second rowers that 5. One has yet to be named. But if you read New Zealand papers, apparently he is coming over. We talked about that earlier with Alex. So I want to be nice about the social media stuff with the AG. So I gotta love the guys over there. But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, you've got really high quality, Christian Osberg, who played, Pro D2 and over there in France as well, and so he's got that experience with you. Regan O'Gorman, like another young, high quality player from Canada, and then Cam Dodson, who again young, can play 8 and in the 4 or 5 spot. So, what's that like for you to have now this immense competition between 4 very large guys? Because you're all, I think you're all, we'll go 6'6" and above. We'll just say that you're all 6'6" up and above. To have this kind of competition level and different styles of play. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I think that's just it. I think every single one of us just bring a different point of view, different experience from everywhere we've been. I mean, you can't say neither of us are exactly the same, and that's what I'm most excited about, is just learning off these boys, and just whatever knowledge I have and whatever experience I have that I can impart onto them. I'm always open, and I'm always willing to help the younger boys out. But yeah, I'm also looking forward to learning off these lads. I'm sure they've got some experience from, like you say, France and Canada and all these different places. So I think the best part of it is that they're, so far I've met them, and they there seems to be such a really good group of really healthy competition, healthy culture. So I feel like that's going to be a great starting point for us to, I think the focus should just be getting better every day, just taking every day, taking every training day, taking every game one step at a time. And if we can just keep on getting better and better every time, then the results will look after themselves. So yeah, I'm most looking forward to is just getting stuck in with all of them, and learning about their journeys and learning what they've learned along the way. And yeah, if I can help any way I can, then yeah, I'm fully for it.
I think you definitely can. You have experience. Obviously, you are the of the four of yourself and the other three that I mentioned. You are the elder statesman of that group.
Yeah.
And I think
Please stop reminding me about that.
You're still young, man. Don't worry about it. You're fine. I've got quite a few years on you. But yeah, but I think it's important, right? It's like you're also going to be able to teach those guys some things. Hopefully it works both ways. They teach you some stuff that they've learned. Again, playing all over in France, in New Zealand, in Canada, like everybody's been all around. I think it brings a whole different perspective, and the team that Sam and Mark are trying to build right now.
Yeah, I think if you look across the board, obviously the second row is we're all from all over the place. But if you look across the board, I think we've got a perfect combination of up and coming young raw talent, and then we've got some experienced guys that have almost been there, done that in so many different situations. And I think there's that combination of experience and the experience of being a professional rugby player year in and year out, and getting your body and your mind in the right space week in and week out. I think that's something that the young boys can really learn from some of our experienced guys. And then just so far, just the energy that I've been like. I mean, obviously we've been on Zoom calls while I've been in South Africa and stuff, and there's been Zoom calls, team Zoom calls and stuff like that. And just even the energy of that, it feels like everyone's here for the same reason. Everyone's here to get better, but also we do have one eye on the MLR, and we've got ambitious goals as a team, and we're really, really excited about where's this team's heading. So it's really exciting times.
That is I think we're all excited as fans, for sure. I think we're definitely looking forward to it. There's one question I gotta ask, because it's been a topic of conversation in one of our groups. So you're born in South Africa, you have English heritage as well, and your mom, and you're also qualified for Portugal. Now,
yes, that
now
is
Rugby
correct.
World Cup is coming up. Any ambitions to go don the Portuguese colors and make a bid for your Portuguese Rugby World Cup appearance? Just throwing it out there. I'm gonna throw it out there.
Yeah. I'll give you the stock standard answer.
No comment.
My focus right now is with the AGs.
That's okay. You can have focus with the AGs and ambitions to play in the World Cup. We talked with I said we talked with Kurt Marath last week, and we're gonna push for him to get to his 4th World Cup because why not, man? Yeah, right on, man.
I mean, look in the shape that man is in. I think he's got no problem of getting there 100%.
Yeah, he makes me feel old and decrepit right now because he's running down young guys. Jeez, no, that's good. Hey, I really appreciate the time you've taken to come on here and chat. Any kind of parting words and parting thoughts for everybody who's watching and listening right now?
Oh, just really excited about the season. I think, and obviously we know the Texans and the Austin locals are proud people, and we just want to get out there and put games together and put performances together to make you guys proud and get you guys excited about rugby in this town. So yeah, we're looking forward to the season starting and getting the whole city behind us and see what happens. But yeah, exciting times I think for rugby in Austin, 100%.
For sure. Well, man, hey, we really appreciate you coming on and chatting for a little bit.
Thank you for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Once again, Sebastian de Chaves, thanks for coming, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Keep well. Cheers.
All right, for our next guest on the podcast, it was really exciting when he was announced along with 2 others to join the gilgronis last season. Came in atop the tallest point over at Coda, a couple 100 feet in the air. We'll have to ask him if he was the one who was afraid of heights, because we hear somebody in that group was afraid of heights. Could it be him? I don't know. He is a USA Eagle. He has many caps for them. He is also Dan Power's favorite player? ? We'll maybe talk to him about that one. Dan, I know you're watching and listening. He is Will the Drill Money in the Bank Magie. What's going on, Will? How's it going, man?
Good. How are you, Dustin? Thanks for having me on.
All right. So here's the question. Last year you were announced. How do you deal with heights? You okay with heights?
I can't remember that far back, so it probably wasn't me that was freaking out. I don't know, if you ever get the chance to go up to that tower at Coda, it's very high.
It's high. Yes.
Yeah.
I know. It was Kurt Barath was talking about it last week, and so he just wanted to trying to figure out if it was you or Pele. Like Pele could have been the one who's afraid of heights. I don't know. He said somebody was a little bit shaky up there. So. Well, hey, really excited to not only have you on, but have you back with us this season. I think it was unfortunate what happened at the end of last season, kind of the COVID and everything that we've talked about. Well, every episode, because that's all we can talk about, because that's only rugby that's happened in the past year, is that last game of the season. But walk us through what that was like to come and play with the team for a couple days, and then to finally come onto the pitch, win a game, and then have it canceled for the rest of the season the next day.
Yeah, no, it was awesome to come back to MLR. Obviously, there was like whispers that Austin was making some big moves, new ownership group, etc. So we had some exciting players coming in to join an already pretty talented side. And yeah, it was really good just to be with the guys for a week or so, get out into Houston, get the win, which was massive for the organization.
Yeah.
And then yeah, obviously everything just came to a pretty abrupt halt. But we're super excited with plans for this season. So yeah.
Let's go back to that game, right, against Houston. You weren't starting. You came on for Kurt, who got injured in like the 65th minute, but you ended up slotting home the points to actually capture the win. I mean, that was the money in the bag, is what what Dan Power is saying. Like Money McGee, like what was that like? What kind of pressure was that? For you to step up and slot home the game-winning points, against Houston.
Yeah, I mean it's part of the job, really.
Good. I'm glad you said it that way. Not like I was scared to death.
It's pretty funny though. It's pretty funny though. In the week, I don't know whether because I was literally just off the plane. First few days was pretty jet lagged or whatnot, and I've had history of back injuries, so I was pretty stiff from the journey, whatnot. And like in practice that week, like I couldn't make a kick to save my life. Like I was doing some stuff with Mick Byrne, and I was like, geez, he's gonna think, who the hell have we signed? Like can't get one from in front of the stick. But then yeah, managed to make a couple, so it was nice.
Yeah, that's it's one of those things where you go, just please just put this over, just one. Can I just make one in training? Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it just a minute ago. You're actually coming back to MLR. You played around England for a while. You played with Glendale first 2 seasons, and what was that? What was it like to make the decision to come back? Because you were playing with London Scottish over in the championship, up until really, was it the Rugby World Cup? You left after the USA matches. You went to London Scottish, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
I mean, it was awesome for me to I moved over to the US to try and play for the US. Like that was sort of the goal. Like it was going to be difficult to sort of get into the Eagles setup. So I moved over to the US, played in the US system for 3 or 4 years, managed to make the World Cup squad, which was obviously an unbelievable experience.
Yeah.
And then just on the back of that, I just kind of wanted a new challenge. And I'd played in the championship a little bit before moving over to the UK, and I knew that it was something that I could try and go back and do. And then to go to London Scottish was awesome because it was in my hometown of London. A lot of my friends were there. It was nice to be able to have, close friends come to games, which they hadn't been able to do when I was playing in Denver.
Yeah.
And these are like high school, college friends, And then I guess once the new ownership group took over at Austin, I sort of got contacted to see if I'd be interested in coming back for what would be this season coming up, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, potentially, like I kind of want to see how everything goes here in London. Like I'm enjoying being back home. Is kind of the plan. And then like within a couple of weeks time, London Scottish was the championship funding cuts had been announced, where the payment package they were getting from the RFU had basically been decreased, and London Scottish don't have that much money as it is as a club. So they kind of announced to us like straight away, like we're going to a part-time model, where it would be like train maybe Monday, Tuesday, Thursday evenings and get a job in the day. And I was like, man, I still have aspirations to play for the US, and I still feel like I've got a few more years in me as a professional rugby player. That's not really what I signed up for coming back here. And the issue was I could have probably tried to find another club in the UK in the championship, but 5 or 6 of those teams had kind of made the same announcement.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than being 12 full-time professional clubs, it's gone down to 6, right? So it just makes it a hell of a lot more tough competition, to try and get one of those fly halves or fullback slots.
Yeah.
So I basically got back in contact with the guys here in Austin. I was like, hey, there might be a chance I can get out sooner than that because this, and this has happened. And London Scottish were awesome. Austin wanted me to come out as soon as possible, so we just kind of made it happen.
I remember when the announcement, I don't remember the exact day, but I remember the time when they said, well, yeah, the RFU is cutting, funding for the championship. And I was talking with some of the other guys, who do different podcasts and stuff around the league. And I said, I wonder how many of those players are now going to come over to play MLR. Like it was just like one of those, and nothing had happened yet. It was like the day after, or 2 days after, we went, oh, that could be quite a few. And we're sitting there going, some people are saying, well, I wonder if like Will Magie will go back to Denver and play with Glendale again, and other guys who have kind of moved moved around said, well, man, we could be a good influx of talent into MLR. So it's good to hear that that London Scottish was open to, I guess, the conversation of you breaking contract or nullifying your contract and coming over to Austin. And then obviously then you have to actually come over here, and you get over here, and then COVID hits.
Yeah, it was literally like we played.
Were you over here even a week before you yeah. From landing to playing to COVID? Like what was it?
No, London Scottish were awesome. They knew my aspirations to keep playing professionally, and they completely understood. And we kind of came to an agreement. Austin wanted me to come out like, I think it was February 1, like for the start of the season, or maybe second week of the season.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, this is just a bit too sudden. Like that was like the week after we first started talking.
Yeah.
So Stevie Scott, who was the head coach at the time of London Scottish, who'd actually done some consulting work with the Eagles the summer before the World Cup. So I kind of had a relationship with him. He kind of said to me, look, we've got a block of fixtures up until 23rd of February or whenever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Can you stay till then? Then we have a bye week, and then so it'll give us 2 weeks then to prepare for after you leave, sort of thing. And I was like, yeah, sweet, I'll go with that. So we played Yorkshire in the league 23rd of Feb or something like that. And the 28th of Feb, and then I flew out on the 1st of March to Austin, landed, 1 week of training, played Houston on the 8th, won that game, a few more days training.
3 days later,
COVID postponement for about 3 days, and then season cancelled for 14 months.
Right. Yeah. Right. We're coming up on. I mean,
it's going to be a year.
We're coming up on a year, but it's. I forget when it is, but because we're what. We talked, Alex Rees and I talked about it last week, and we were saying, it's like 35 days or something. We weren't even close. It was 56. And so we're like, but now we're below 50 days now. So now we're down to 40 something days. It's going to be almost 1 year from cancellation to start to go around. What, besides playing golf, what have you been doing in your off time?
A lot of golf, which has been good.
But by the way, for those who are listening and watching, if you didn't know, Will is an avid golfer.
I think you're using the wrong adjective. Begins with A. I think it's addicted golfer. But yeah,
I was being nice. I think there's more posts of you playing golf on your social media than there is of you playing rugby on your social media.
Potentially, yeah. But yeah, it was me, Marcelo, and Michael DeWall, the other gilgronis, that we were kind of and Kurt was stuck around, but he doesn't really golf too much. He's more of a tennis player. But we stuck around in Austin during the pandemic, and we joined a local club up in Round Rock, Terra Vista.
Yeah.
And full membership, and basically
played every day,
and got off full money's worth for the membership.
They're probably one of the only people to have like a full membership to a golf club, like an actual club, and really we're gonna play every single day.
Fully take advantage of it.
I mean, you guys were probably playing you're probably playing out there when it's 100 degrees, yeah.
Oh, that's when we wanted to go out because it wasn't as busy.
Yeah, right. There's a reason for that, Will, because nobody wants to go outside in Texas in the summertime. That's funny. Well, I mean, so you're an addicted golfer, an avid addicted golfer. You've done a lot of that, but I think obviously you're training, you got back into training, you went down, you played with the Ohio Aviators down in Bermuda. We talked with Kurt a little bit about it last week. What was it like to go play in the inaugural tens tens format, and just to go down to Bermuda and have a good time?
Yeah, that was obviously amazing. It came at a really good time because we were hoping we'd be away with some USA stuff around November, December time, and then that kind of got canned. But yeah, to go out there with the Ohio guys was an unbelievable experience. The whole Thames tournament organizers, but more so the Ohio Aviators, like backroom staff and general manager Tom Rooney, like they did an unbelievable job for us all, making sure that we had a great time on the field, but everything was taken care of so we could have an amazing time and make lifelong memories off the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably should mention obviously the passing of one of our teammates, Sean Riley.
Yeah.
Very sad news. He's an unbelievable bloke. It's the first time I'd met him. We played against each other a couple of times, but yeah, he's a great bloke, and obviously thoughts and prayers with his family and his girlfriend. I know they're probably going through a very hard time.
Yeah, it's incredibly sad. We won't touch too much on it, but it is incredibly sad. And the NOLA group over there. So he plays with NOLA. They're great. I mean, the fan base over there is great. Like they're such class, and I know that in talking with them, they had talked with the history that Sean had. Like he's just one of those like lovable characters. Whether it's Sevens, whether it's Ohio Aviators, whether it's NOLA, it's anybody they played with. Apparently, like I never met him personally, but the stories that I saw, you could see the outpouring of love and just sadness about his passing. So appreciate you bringing it up, because it's the rugby community we just talked about it with Sebastian. The rugby community, the world rugby community in general, is very, very small. Like so many people know everybody. If you know one person, you probably know five, or you're connected to like, oh yeah, and so played with the All Blacks. I was like, oh, I had a beer with this guy last week. That's weird. But to have something like that is somebody's going to be affected, and it's nice to hear the outpour of love and support for his family.
100%.
So that's good. Well, so to step away from the sadder note, I want to talk a bit about you were playing with them, the Ohio Aviators down in Bermuda. You took over the AG social media for one day and maybe got fake news slapped. It wasn't fake news for most people who knew, but it was we joked around with it's the biggest it's the worst kept secret in MLR signings. Well, it's one of the worst kept secrets, and that was Bryce, your buddy Bryce Campbell, coming to the team as well. How fun was it to with him again, and how fun will it be to kind of link up with Bryce again and play some more rugby with Bryce?
Yeah, no, it's very exciting.
And how much of a wrist slapping did you get from the AG social media?
I'll ruin AG social media cover story there. That was all part of the plan.
Oh yeah,
like I was meant to release it, but no, it was super fun to kind of play that jokester role for a day with announcing Brycey. Yeah, and it was great to have him involved. He kind of got to a similar crossroads in terms of he'd spent a couple of years in London, had a really good time. Playing for London Irish, obviously in the Championship and then the Premiership. And then, he just kind of was like, the MLR's getting, like the standard has increased significantly. It's now a very, very good level of rugby. And he knew in the stage he's at in his career where he wants to take that next step in terms of like leadership, that he can really come back over here and help lead an MLR team, lead the AGs, and help younger Americans grow in rugby. So I think he's super excited to do that.
That's fantastic.
And then personally, obviously, like I played a lot of my rugby with Bryce at 12 or 13 outside me for both Glendale and the US. So I'm stoked. Like he's a dependable guy. Like what you're going to get with Brycey. So
right, so we'll put you on the spot right now, because we keep going through the roster, and I'm sitting there going, man, I see Bryce at 12. I know he's played 13. If Adam Ashley Cooper would have re-signed, we heard that he did not. I would have had him at 13. So is he going to play 12 or is he going to play 13? And do we have is there somebody secret that's going to come in and play 13 for us? Or do you think Frank's going to play there? I know there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions in that one.
Yeah, that's up to the coaches. We've been a few numbers short in training when we've been walking through some stuff, and Mark Gerard's looked pretty good there, so I wouldn't rule that one out.
I'd say let him lace back up. You know, like I'm not gonna hold him back.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know. Like obviously, whoever the coaches go with, and whether Bryce plays 12 or 13, he's a solid player. So
yeah, I hope people know that we're just joking around. Like we don't anticipate Will to be put on the spot to make the decision, but it will be kind of fun to have him, you know, kind of on the outside of you again. Speaking of, like, you know, you in your position, I mean, you do play fly half and fullback is what it's listed as, and so you can play both. The fly half position, you have a bit of competition there right now, and it's good competition, and I hope people see it as good competition. But you've not only got Kurt Morath, you know, 3-time World Cup Tongan international. We said trying to push for 4th time. Bless you to the person in the background. And then, you know, obviously, and then Mac Mason, Australian, who's now coming into play. What's it like to kind of see how Austin has grown to have 3 high quality fly halves? And then, you know, if you want to compete at 15, you've got Zinni, who also plays fullback as well. I mean, it's a tough competition, but it's a good thing to have, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like you don't win an MLR Shield with 15 players. You know, it's going to take 30, 35, however many are in the squad to make sure that we are performing at our best, and the coaches will make that decision. Like whoever's playing the best rugby and best fit for the team is gonna hold down that 10 jersey, and then the style we're going to play this year, you know, like they want that second playmaker. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see, obviously, the 3 of us that are 10s challenging Zinni for the 15 shirt if we're not the starting 10, you know. So that's exciting, because you look on paper in the squad, like Zinni's probably the only out and out fullback that we have.
Yeah.
Obviously there's guys like Ned Hodson can sort of cover anywhere from outside 12.
He hasn't been announced.
But then, oh, perfect. That's good.
We'll put a bleep over that. So if you're listening, you just hear that beep and a censor over top of this. Fake news. Will Magie gives fake news.
So
round 2. So
beep can play anywhere. That's not my fault. He's with the boys. That's
I know
Austin's
he's been
fault.
Here for weeks.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll let Austin know and give a kick up the backside to announce it before this comes out.
It comes out tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
So you have to message him right now. So,
yeah.
So somebody else who can come who is coming, who we just said but won't say, does play at 15 as well. But yes, Zinni is probably the only out.
Back to the question. There's competition for space. You've rattled me now.
I know.
Competition for places is a good thing.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I mean, that's what you need, right? Like you need that for you as a USA Eagle, as somebody who's going to play, wants to play the next level. You want that competition. Your competition at 10 for the USA Eagles is no slouch either. So you've got there's lots of experience around. There's lots of stuff with the team that's being built. How have you seen that change from the year 1 with Glendale to now? And the change in MLR, what have you seen be the biggest? What do you think the biggest change has been?
I think probably the caliber of overseas player coming in.
Yeah.
So obviously we know it's massively important that we're developing Americans, and I think the league is doing a very good job of limiting the number of foreign spots. But if you look at who those foreign players are now compared to who they were in 2018, like it's substantially better. I mean, if you look at our Glendale team in 2018, like our 5 or 6 biggest leaders on the team were all USA Eagle guys. So you had like myself, Sean, Bryce, Quilly, Ben Landry, guys that had only really, apart from Quilly, had only really played professional rugby in the States. You look at the AGs now, we've got guys coming in like, obviously like Kurt, Frank, Whopper, Hugh Roach. I'm probably going to name some other guys we haven't announced yet. Robbie Kutsia, guys that have played like super rugby, professional rugby overseas. That is just like the amount of experience and leadership those guys bring to a side is massive.
And I think that's something that's really going to stand out. And I think, we talked about it, and maybe we're a little bit biased, but looking at Austin's team and the depth and the quality of the depth is phenomenal. The front row
because
depth.
it's not just. Yeah, exactly. You said it's not just 10. It's everywhere.
It's 10. It's 11. It's 11 and 14. I mean, technically, if we get a 13 if we have a true 13 that gets to play out there, you can move Frank out to his natural position of 11 and 14, and then good luck rest of the MLR wing who wants to try to tackle Frank.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's all of the loose forwards and stuff as well, and and scrum halves and stuff, like your roommate and Pele, I think are two great, and you've got a young American in there in the mix as well, and Sid Shoot. And so again, it's talent all around, and it's quality, and there's a good age for, there's younger guys and there's older guys who can bring the experience. So I appreciate you kind of saying that and saying, like, this is the higher quality is just kind of the change. And I think that's what we see from MLR in general. Yeah.
That's just not just the AGs. No, right? That's every team.
It's every standard is getting higher and higher, which can only make USA Eagles better. That's the hope. It's good to hear. So a couple other questions, as we kind of start wrapping things up here. One question came from our buddy John Woolley, who's part of the supporters group. He sent a question when I asked him. I said, any questions for Will Magie? And he said, yeah. He said, is he gonna get the sticks ready again to go and take the MLR Virtual Championship again? Should that happen at the end of the season? I mean,
happily,
right?
So for those that's one of the other things we've been doing in lockdown, just gaming a lot.
Yeah. Everybody's been gaming. Everybody's been playing their rugby 20 or whatever. There was another.
So the funny story about that is, and this is honest to God truth, other than in the team room during that tournament, I had never played rugby 20. I just
happened to
played
play
it.
Yeah, right. You just played like it's just a natural at rugby 20. Either that or was everybody else really bad?
I think that's probably more likely. But NHL 20 or Call of Duty.
NHL. Okay, all right.
That's my go-to.
Are you a hockey fan? Is that the secret?
Yeah, big Colorado Avalanche fan from my time in Denver.
Yeah. So Peter Forsberg. Yeah. Patrick Waugh. He was before your time, but that's
before my time.
That's old school.
Now McKinnon and Landeskog and Rantanen.
That shows how old I am. So yeah. Peter
and actually, Cole Davis' buddy is Kel McCarr, who's one of the Avs defensemen who's a stud. So
there you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna completely work that angle to try and get some tickets when we're allowed to go again.
Yeah, I was gonna say so you're gonna be looking to catch a few NHL games when you go train with USA or something.
Yeah.
So the other big thing that we got to talk about is you are the golden child favorite of Mr. Dan Power. What kind of pressure do you feel knowing that everything that Dan does revolves around you?
He's got a few. I'm one of many. No, it's great. Dan's a great guy. Obviously love his sense of humor, love what he brings to the commentary booth, and obviously love the fact that he's always supporting and really championing whether the AG fans are going to be gilgroniacs or not. I know that's a hot topic at the moment. So.
It is a hot topic. It's a topic we posted on social media, on the Facebook page as of right now in the recording of this. It was somewhere like 19 yes to 19 no and 5 I don't care. And then on Instagram it was, I think, 19 yes to 7 no or 6 no something, or 21 yes to 7 no.
Dan has to pick up his campaign.
Man, he's got to work on something.
Campaign.
So Dan's campaign is continue to support and use the Hulkamania theme for Will Magie, and then it's also how do we get Joe Rogan to be our big supporter here in Austin? If Austin FC has Matthew McConaughey, where's Joe Rogan or Elon Musk?
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
for
man,
sure.
Any last kind of thoughts? We appreciate you having me come on and just chatting a little bit. Any last things you want to say to everybody before you head out of here?
No, just obviously we're all super excited for the season. It's starting to get very real now. Obviously,
it is.
Coaches are here, kit's here. Next thing is games are going to be here, and it's going to be awesome I never got to play at Bold Stadium.
Yeah.
I know the guys have been working hard behind the scenes to sell it out, so yeah, come out, bring your friends. It's going to be all socially distanced pod seating, 2 4s or 6s, I think. So
look at you.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Ever the salesman. Also, we didn't really point out, Will is actually wearing some of that nice AG swag that he gets soon, coming to a rugby shop near you very soon, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, hey, Will, we really appreciate it, man. We looking forward to the season, looking forward to watching you and Kurt and really the rest of the team compete for those starting spots. But we know everybody's going to just give it their all. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys out there. We appreciate you coming on the podcast, and man, we'll hopefully have you back on and sometime during the middle of the season talk about how the year's going so far.
Sounds good, Dustin. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Well, cheers. Will Magie, everybody.
All right, man.
Well, we want to thank Sebastian de Chaves, Will Magie. Both those guys are super fun. Sorry that we have to potentially bleep out the name of the person that Will gave away. Wow. Okay, so we're not going to get in trouble on social media for the AGs this week. Or maybe Will will, so I don't know. But it's exciting. Like Sebastian, again, the path that he's had to come in and play with the team has been really exciting. We talked about at the beginning when Alex and I were just kind of touching base with how he's gone from 300 people in his classroom to not really, he really didn't think that sport was going to be his life, and now it is. And so that's really exciting, and we're super stoked to have him coming in that second row. And then Will Magie and Alex, you can talk about it. Like we'll get excited when we talk about that battle at that 10 spot.
Oh, absolutely. We got, two guys with World Cup experience at fly half is pretty great. And then we got our young gun coming from
Mac Mason, baby.
Yeah, so I think that fly half we're again in a position that last year we were a little shallow on, and this year we're pretty stacked.
It takes away your chance, man. Hey, man, we're always pulling for you. You're the local guy.
I want to get out on the links with Mr. McGee,
right?
Mr. Two, the links, Mr. 2 or 3 handicap.
I don't know, man. These like he said in the interview, like they've been doing it for. They went out however many days. Like he and Marcelo and Michael DeWall were all out there. Apparently, they played. At least he said they played every single day. Like 100-degree heat. Like so, hey, you go play, man. I'm terrible at golf, so that's not gonna be mine. No. But that's it. It's exciting. It's a lot of good things going on at the AGs. The depth is looking great. We're seeing the promise of what this team is going to be like with Coach Harrison and Coach Gerard are building. Looking forward to it. Alex, what group in the pack do you want to go and talk about next week?
Well, definitely want to look at that back row. I think that's, for many of us, one of the most exciting aspects of our team coming up this year.
For sure. We can do that. Let's do that next week. Tune in. We're going to cover the Austin back rowers. So much athleticism back there. It's not even funny. And then in the week after that, we'll talk about the big boys up front, the props. Of course, that'll cap us off in the forward pack. Hey, if you're looking for
Dustin, little to most people know, you used to be a prop.
I did. Many years ago when I was a hefty 265 myself, which people don't look at me anymore and say that, but I appreciate that. So, thanks for bringing that back up, Alex. I also used to be a hooker, an 8-man, and a water boy. Hey, thanks for joining us on the Austin Rugby Podcast. Always a pleasure to do this. We have a great time. It's a lot of fun. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Austin Rugby Supporters on Facebook and Instagram. If you're looking for more Texas Rugby information, Texas Rugby Monthly. It only comes out once a month. It'll take an hour of your time. Our goal is to continue to promote the sport inside Texas and inside Austin. Let's get Joe Rogan again to follow us. So just tag Joe Rogan in everything you do for this. This is we said it with Will. We said it with Sebastian. Come on, Joe, you can do it. Dan Powers calling out your name constantly.
Joe Rogan has hooker written all over.
In more ways than one, maybe.
Hooker.
And we had more ways than one. So hey, thanks again. That's Alex Rees. I'm sorry. This is the right way. That right there. I can point That right there is Alex Rees. I'm Dustin Zerrer. This is the Austin Rugby Podcast. Appreciate you listening. We'll see you on the pitch.
Thanks, Dustin.